Hi, everyone. This is Tamron Hall. I am here at my home in New York, and it is just my honor to be here with all of you today. My father, Clarence Newton Sr., was in the Army for nearly 30 years. So my connection and dedication to the USO and to families like yours is unflinching, unwavering. I know these are difficult times for everyone, but especially for the moms out there. And today, or the moms to be, today, it's about family. It's about having each other's back and helping each other through a very complicated but joyous time in our lives. So here's the deal. I'll be very honest with you. I have one ear open because I have a 1-year-old upstairs. Yes, at the age of 48, I learned that I was having my first child after multiple rounds of IVF and some tears and some worries and a lot of other things mixed in the middle. I got the joyous news that me and my husband would have our first child. And since I am 50 now, our only child. That's the humor for today. But nevertheless, you know, it's a thrill to be able to share what I've experienced, but also more than my journey, this incredible panel of women that we've assembled today to talk to you. You're not alone. There were days during my pregnancy, despite the incoming emails and the text messages, I did feel alone. I'm just being honest with you. That's a natural feeling. When you are coming back from a doctor's appointment, perhaps alone, or in this COVID crisis, much of your contact cut off, you can feel as if the weight of the world is on your shoulders. This journey of bringing this child into the world is on your shoulders. And that doesn't have to be. And I hope that we are able to, together today, have this great conversation and be very honest with one another. So as I said, my son Moses turned a year old on the 24th of April, 25th, I don't remember right now, don't quote me on that. But we know that this is a life-changing event. And 1 year later, there are things that I've experienced I could never have imagined. I look back at the fact that, you know, I would have been delivering my son in the middle of this pandemic. He was born last year. So I would have been going in the hospital or preparing, like many of you, for what is a frightening experience, but one that will lead to great joy for all of you. So as I said, I'm thrilled to be here. The program is called Motherhood Juggle. I like to add on the part because the juggle is real. Military mothers and mothers-to-be from all over the world have joined us today. Germany, Italy, Texas, you name it. We've got all of the bases, that's my second joke of the day, covered for sure. And we have two amazing women on hand to address any questions or concerns that come up during our conversation. This is casual. I dressed up for all of you. I had been into something very casual, but I figured we don't get occasions to dress up anymore. So I, you know, put a little earring bling on for you, but this is really casual. This is us as women talking with each other, not to each other. And that's a very important component in everything that I do with my talk show as well. I want to talk with you. We're going to laugh together, I hope. And we may even cry together. But in the end, we're going to be in this together. So let me introduce two wonderful women who will join us in our conversation today. Dr. Meagan Morrison, an OBGYN from Huntsville, North Carolina.
I am currently on call, so I just had to run down and deal with the situation really quickly.
Let me just get you quickly to talk about how COVID-19 has changed the medical experience for expectant moms.
Oh man, it has definitely made something that was already very nervous and nerve-wracking for many women, especially new moms, a much more difficult situation to deal with, and a very a lot of them are feeling really uneasy. And as an OBGYN, it's our job to really just make sure that we keep them as in the know as we possibly can, because guess what, at the end of the day, we don't know. We have no idea. Like, as quickly as we're learning about it, you guys are learning about it. And we just do the best we can to help them stay calm. We're like actively working on anxiety, which is a big deal right now for people being, you know, shelter in place. They can't leave, they can't go anywhere. You know, for a new mom, they're like, oh my God, my baby's not moving. Does that mean I can't go to the hospital? Does that mean I can't call my doctor? There are a lot of things. And it's been really most of the time just kind of talking people off the ledge, so to speak, you know, and keeping them calm.
And I think that's important. I mean, to your point, we're learning more and more every day. But for those expectant moms out there, with each day, I'm sure medical professionals like yourself feel a little more comfortable in the way that you communicate with them. Because I remember we went on air here in New York, the first week of March when it was shut down. And compared to what I'm hearing from expectant moms now versus those first terrifying weeks, seems to be better. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I do. I definitely think it feels better. And it feels as though, although we know a little bit more, what we know is based off of time, right? Like the 3 months that have passed, we know that everything appears to be going pretty well, surprisingly. You know, the pregnant women don't really seem to be as affected by the virus, and the babies. Yes, there are a few cases here and there, but nothing like the general population of, you know, the older people or the people that already have other medical conditions. You know, it's really helping us kind of hone in on who really is at risk. And I think being pregnant by default, you kind of make sure you don't expose yourself. So you're already doing a great job at prevention in that way alone.
That's great to hear that. Lauren is our yoga expert. You're a certified mindfulness meditation instructor and a holistic health coach. You're a new mom yourself. Talk to me about what you see as additional issues that military families face now.
You know, I think that we live in times that are uncertain. And when we're a military family, we're dealing with additional uncertainties. Like so many of the moms who are joining us today in the middle of transition, moving from one base to the next in different countries with different restrictions that they're facing, oftentimes away from family and friends. And I think these practices of mindfulness and meditation, and for some people, maybe some prenatal yoga or some postnatal yoga, can help us to navigate uncertainty, because uncertainty is part of life. And I think it's really important for us to bring forward a great deal of compassion to the anxiety that we might be feeling, that many of the moms who are joining us today have expressed, and to really be reminded that if we're having these feelings of stress or anxiety, it does not mean that we're doing life wrong. It doesn't mean that something's wrong with us. How natural, how normal, and for all of us to get together here today as a global community and to be reminded we are in this together and that we don't have to feel anxious alone. And it's almost like we can put a hand over our hearts and we can say for this time that we share, we're in it together. I'm okay. How normal this is, how understandable it would be that we're having to face some of these things, especially as military families. So I think really coming together in this shared sense of community reminds us how important it is to, as we move forward into raising this next generation, right? This next generation of leaders that we are leading from the inside out, from the time that we're pregnant all the way through birth and into parenting, with tremendous kindness and tremendous compassion.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Morrison and Lauren, for joining us. I do want to give our audience some notes here on how you can contribute to the conversation, because as I said, this is us together. We are communicating using this technology that we all may be fumbling around, but in reality, it keeps us connected. So you can type any comments, stories, or questions in the Zoom Q&A box. And many of you are using it right now, so just use that Q&A box feature there to type your comments and your questions. I can see them as well. You can type live at the end of your comment, story, or question if you are willing to join us on this Zoom conversation in person. Now, I love that component of it. So if you're ready to come on here live with us, we're ready to have you. So make sure you put live on there. And the chat feature, feel free to chat with us. It's moms around the world. And as I said before, as a woman who just had a baby a year ago, and even now, there are many days that despite being on TV and having this seemingly exciting kind of job, that I've gotten in the corner and cried by myself, feeling alone, feeling like I was doing something wrong, to Lauren's point, but knowing inside I wasn't. But those things creep into your head. My minister always says to me, don't believe what you tell yourself about yourself at night, because you will lie in bed and your mind just starts to race. I say, don't believe what you tell yourself when you are breastfeeding, because you will start, that's my variation of it, because I was in that situation wondering what all kinds of wrong things I had done to myself and what I was doing wrong to my son. So there you have it. We set the stage. Let's start chatting. First up, we have a mom in the process of moving from Italy to California, and she joins us from Connecticut. Elizabeth, how are you?
Good. Overall, it's a slightly crazy time. Moving is difficult. Having a baby is difficult. Coronavirus is just insane. And you just put it all together and you just put one foot in front of the other because you have no other choice.
You're due August 4th?
Yes.
What have you been told? Let me just back up because your journey is incredible. We began with, you're pregnant in Italy.
Yes.
During the COVID crisis at the beginning of this.
Yes.
I don't even want to know what the first thing that came to mind, because I'm sure it was not a pleasant feeling and one filled with fear. How did you get your footing? How did you wrap your mind around the fact that this is the situation, this is where we are, and how do we deal with it?
It was a lot of discussions with my husband, with my parents, with following the news, and we always knew we wanted to have the baby back in the US. We were set to PCS this summer, and we had the option to extend and stay longer, but with passports getting shut down, things like that, it would have been a very long delay. And I knew for sure I wanted the baby stateside. Italy is a great place to live in many, many respects, but had we needed a NICU for the baby, it would have been out in the Italian healthcare system. And that just made me a little bit too nervous to stay put and have the baby there. I know other people feel completely, our base hospital was fantastic, world-class medical care. However, it was one of those that just made me a little bit too nervous. I'm a slightly older mom, and this is my third child. So just the risk factors were such that I knew coming back to the US was the right choice. And the Navy, the DOD was fantastic in offering the opportunity for the early return for dependents for medical care if you wanted that. And we found out about it. We planned on getting me on the next plane, and then we watched the news and we said, wow, things are actually getting worse in America, slightly better in Italy. And then the next month we had the same conversation, and we finally got to the stage where if I don't leave now, I am not going to be able to be on a plane because I will be turned away by all major carriers. Luckily, everything worked out with myself traveling solo with a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a cat.
Oh my gosh.
We had the craziest journey ever. And when we first got our itinerary, I had already been apprehensive about traveling, and I just started laughing because it was, you're gonna drive to Rome, fly from there to Paris, have an overnight in Paris, then fly to Atlanta, and then from there have a long layover and eventually make it to Boston, where we did our quarantine and stayed there for a while before going to family. It sometimes things just get so overwhelming, you just have to laugh about it. Like you just have to let go because there's nothing else you can do. You literally have to put one foot in front of another, and pack as much as you can and sit on your suitcase and make it out the door.
Absolutely. Dr. Morrison, let me bring you back in the conversation, because what we're hearing from Elizabeth, as I said, we have an international audience listening and watching and joining us right now. And they, in some cases, are abroad and trying to navigate and understand and ask themselves, am I making the right decision or the best decision by staying here, or do I leave?
Well, honestly, I think it depends on where your support system is, right? Because when you're pregnant, at the end of the day, once you have that baby or you already have children and then you have a new baby coming, it's your support that's most important. And I think that's what helps you thrive, especially in the midst of something like this. I feel like if leaving is the best thing to do, then that's what you do. You leave. But if staying and maybe getting somebody to come to you instead, then you do that. You do whatever works best for you and your family, because by default, that's going to be the best answer.
That is so true. I mean, it's incredible. And by the way, a reminder, if you're joining us here and you have any questions, medical care, different, we would love to hear your thoughts on this. So please don't feel that this is an infomercial where you're just sitting there. This is about participation and joining this together. Let me bring in Shantae. Are you there, Shantae? Let me, and you're due in September, your first baby?
Yes, my first baby, September.
September, well, that's a good month. That's when I was born. Hello, Virgo Nation. So tell me, you're feeling isolated. What are you feeling right now?
A little bit overwhelmed because we had so much things planned for the summer, especially with family, being that we've been away from them for so long. All of our families in New York, so that's where we grew up and that's where we were raised. So everything, because of COVID being coming and pushing everything back, and not being able to celebrate our first child with everyone, it's kind of overwhelming, and at times I do feel a little sad that I can't have them here with me to experience this. But hey, as long as we're safe and we're all good, then that's all that matters.
Lauren, I'll bring you back in because that's the commonality that we're hearing so often, this feeling of isolation. And that's for people who aren't expecting. So now here you are, you're expecting, and those things as simple as a baby shower or just being able to sit and hug your parent or a relative during this time, if you're not getting it. And that's where the reset or the mind, body, soul element seems to be so necessary.
I think it's really important, first and foremost, for Shantae and for all the moms who are joining. I've had to navigate postpartum under quarantine, and I think it's really important for us to honor our grief. I think it's really important for you to say to yourself, this is hard, and I'm sad, and there are some things that I'm missing. And for us, first and foremost, to acknowledge the pain that's there and the loss that's there and the longing that's there, because that's the road to healing, right? If we ignore those things and we shove all those emotions down and we pretend like, oh, everything's okay, and we put on rose-colored glasses, that stuff is just going to come up later on, or it's going to manifest in our bodies as stress. And we know, of course, stress in pregnancy especially can have adverse effects. So we want to deal with that and acknowledge what it is we're feeling. But once we've done that, I think then we have this opportunity to really look and see that we're not practicing being so attached to how we wish things were. You know, part of the practice means seeing things as they really are. And right now, we're not having in-person baby showers. Right now, we're not having the get-togethers that we wish that we were having, or seeing the family that we wish that we were seeing. So the more that we attach to the expectations, the more that we hold tight to how we wish things were, instead of acknowledging how they really are, the more that we suffer. You know, there's this beautiful saying that I'm sure many of you are familiar with from Brené Brown. She says, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
And if we sit around and we keep comparing to how other people got to do it in the past, we're just going to create a lot of pain for ourselves. So I think it's this two-way street. One, honoring our grief and our loss, and then putting the next foot forward and having that willingness to really adopt and accept this first lesson in parenting, which is letting go.
Yeah.
Letting go.
I would love to hear from the other moms out there if you're feeling isolated right now. And you can tell us via the comments what's going on. How are you coping? Just go to the top bar you'll see the Q&A there. And we would love to read. And if you want to join us live, we're here for that too. Okay, you're in high risk as well. So it's not just the isolation you're dealing with. You have a high risk condition as well, correct?
I don't know if it's considered high risk. They haven't told me, but all they said was that I have a circumvallate placenta. And at first they were like, oh, there's nothing to worry about. And I was like, okay. And then, us as humans, we go and search on the internet and try to figure out what it is and how to kind of like get through with what it is. But I consider it high risk because there's a possible chance that it's a preterm labor and a possible miscarriage. And I almost had a possible miscarriage early in my pregnancy because I was bleeding a lot and had to go to the hospital and get some medication for it. But currently, right now, I'm doing fine. I just had my glucose test yesterday, so my glucose levels are good. But they told me my iron levels are low, so I just have to keep a positive mind about everything and know that everything will be okay.
Well, that's the key to so much. But going to the appointments and how to handle all of this, Dr. Morrison, how should expectant moms, or what should they expect even when it comes to appointments with their doctors?
Well, right now, the difference is when you come to appointment, typically you come alone. Most of the time people were bringing their spouse or best friend or mother to the appointments. And now it's literally the mom comes by herself with a mask on. I'm wearing a mask and everybody in the office is wearing a mask. It's very, you feel really kind of disconnected because you're missing facial expressions from people when you say, hi, how are you? Like if all you see is this, like, do you really know that I'm smiling at you? Do you really know what's going on? So you feel immediately disconnected. So there requires like a lot of verbiage to really help people feel welcomed and at ease. Just recently in North Carolina, or at least in my hospital system, we started allowing people to bring one person to the ultrasound. Before, there was no one. It was, once again, you by yourself. And, when you do an anatomy scan, that's like an important time. You find out the sex of the baby, and you actually see the baby, and it looks like a baby, not like a little kidney bean or something. But then the worst part is when you get that first ultrasound, and guess what? There's no heartbeat. Can you imagine doing that by yourself? Or calling your spouse who's sitting in the parking lot, you're crying over the phone, they're crying over the phone. And then as the doctor, you can't even really right now reach out and put your hand on their shoulder or put your hand on their knee and let them know that I'm really sorry, and like let them feel your emotion for them. Like you can't even show it either. It's very different right now, but we're just working hard to try and help them feel the connection, even though it's no longer as visible as it once was.
We have Erica in the Q&A due August 1st, C-section. And doctor, you'll have to help me with this because I'm reading it. It's via VBAC.
Yeah, VBAC, vaginal birth after cesarean.
And is that, so her question is, she's planning a tubal ligation. See, listen, I am reading this live. This is how you know it's live. I haven't had a producer tell me how to pronounce it yet. I'm thinking about less recovery time. Fourth pregnancy, they moved from California to Great Lakes, Illinois this past September. So a lot of transition in her life, both through the physical nature of the body and also through life. What is your advice for her, Lauren, with so much on her plate right now?
I think that you touched on it so beautifully early on in this conversation, and I'll share something that's similar that one of my teachers often says, which is asking ourselves this question, is this loving? And because Shantae, you were saying you go onto Google, you start Googling, and what we end up finding, we get our worst fears confirmed, right? And all of us moms and new moms and pregnant moms, we've all done this, sitting there nursing, in the waiting room, we're Googling, and you have to ask this question, is this loving to myself? So as we're going through all of these questions in terms of going to these appointments, going through transitions, having a fourth baby, I mean, that's a major transition. And even though you've done it before, moms of multiples know every pregnancy is different, every baby is different, every time in life is different. And Tamron, you said it earlier, another way of asking this question or phrasing this is, your thoughts don't always have your best interest in mind. Your thoughts often are going off into a place of wanting to plan, because we think that if we plan for the worst, then when the worst happens, we'll be protected. But really what we end up doing is we spiral ourselves into a place of greater stress, anxiety, and concern. And so can we really look and see, does this thought have my best interest in mind? And if it doesn't have my best interest in mind, what would love do right now? How would love talk to me? How would love talk to my family? How would love talk to my baby? So that we're coming from this loving place, even as we navigate fear, even as we navigate maybe a big transition in terms of a move or even a medical procedure.
Jessica, we have mom Jessica Hoppen on the line. Are you there, Jessica? Hi, how are you?
Hi there.
Where are you joining us from?
I'm currently in Florida, but we're from New York, and we were quarantined in New Jersey. So we've been all around the United States world for the time being during this pregnancy. It's been a little wild.
I bet so. And what is your due date?
I'm due August 29th.
August 29th will come in the blink of an eye. I know that, as you said, you've been moving around a lot. At this point, how would you describe where you are emotionally?
Emotionally, this has been a roller coaster. We chose a doctor in the city on the Upper West Side. I went to appointments there up until 20 weeks. I had to switch to a doctor in New Jersey after that. And then we took a little road trip to Florida. So now I'm seeing my original doctor here in Florida, which is where I'm from. So emotionally, it's been very stressful. It's really great to be close to family at this point. We mentioned earlier having your support system nearby. I think that's very true. It's something that I can definitely speak to. It's been hard. It's been hard to feel comfortable and acclimated and know that I have the right places to turn to. But my husband's been incredibly supportive, and my parents have been great. My siblings have been great. And overall, I can't complain. It's the best of a bad situation.
Absolutely. And it's going to be a beautiful situation in a short few weeks. How would you describe your experience going in to see your physician, to see your doctor?
Well, it was very nerve-wracking once coronavirus started, because I had been accustomed to having the regular OBGYN visit. And then all of a sudden we had to put on masks, gloves, hospital scrubs, just to go see the doctor. And my husband wasn't allowed to come to appointments after a while. Big things that we are looking forward to, milestone appointments such as our 20-week, or I think it was a 21-week scan, he wasn't allowed to be at anymore after that point. So, it's definitely not what I was expecting it to be. And it's all been about sort of changing my expectations and adapting to the situation.
Dr. Morris, I'll bring you in on that, because this is about erasing expectations at this point. Shantae said the same thing. It's just recognizing we have but so much control over what is taking place.
Yeah, and we're doing the same thing, changing our expectations. Like normally we do not allow video or phones really, especially in the exam room nor in the ultrasound room. And now we're like, yeah, you want to FaceTime? No problem. Or during a delivery, I literally did a delivery maybe like a couple weeks ago where they had an iPad with like 17 people on a Zoom during the delivery. Like from New York, from Florida, like the whole family was technically
Jessica, get
in the
ready. You
delivery.
can break a record. I think Jessica might break the record here. 17 in the Zoom. So if you're on right now, just know you might be in a situation where you can have a Zoom baby shower and birth shower
Yes.
all at once. So I tell people, make sure everything is charged. All of your
Yes.
iPads, your iPhones, because you may need them. Go on, doctor.
Yeah, so absolutely. So the things we normally would be like, absolutely not. You know what? Even we're being like, you know what? This is new territory for all of us. So yeah, go ahead, because it's either that or, you know, you have this amazing experience and you really are all by yourself. I don't think, if you don't want that, we don't want that for you either. And we'll do whatever we can to help accommodate.
I think we have Natalie standing by. Natalie gave birth in Italy at the height of the pandemic, and there you are with your beautiful baby girl. Tell me about her.
Hi, this is Allison Rose. She will be 2 months on Sunday. She's a little chunk. She's very sassy, and I get yelled at on a daily by her.
That's okay. That's I like that kind of personality in a girl. That's for sure. Tell me, what was your delivery like?
My delivery. Well, I wanted to go as natural as possible, and so let's start. We're all military spouses are in the military. My water broke at 6:40 in the morning. Everybody knows our husbands are out running around doing their exercise, PTing. So couldn't get a hold of my husband right away to tell him my water broke. So I went through a whole chain of people. And then I contacted my FRG leader, who contacted her husband, contacted someone else to get my husband to come home. So within an hour, he was home. So I wasn't even packed when my water broke, just Allie's back. So I just had snacks. So at that moment, I'm like, what am I supposed to do with the puddle on the ground? So, well, anyways, by the time he came home, we got our stuff, rolled on out. My husband ended up dropping me off at the hospital door. And that was the last time I seen him. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Listen, that's why we're here. Don't be sorry. You listen.
I know.
We've never met in person, but please know that we are sisters in this. We are not, we're not leaving anyone behind. And your tears are tears of just relief because you've got a healthy baby there. And you're also using this hard time that you went through and are going through to help other people. I know that you had, and you've been open about discussing anxiety and boredom and just the emotional roller coaster of all of this.
Trust me, when I went through those doors, I was pretty calm knowing that walking in that there was a possibility my husband wasn't going to be there, because policy changed right before I gave birth, and let alone I gave birth at 37 weeks and 5 days. So it was a spontaneous vaginal delivery. And and here the policy at that time, they were going to test you at 39 weeks and 40 weeks for COVID. So your husband was able to go in with you. And since I didn't make it to that benchmark, I wasn't tested until I went into the ER.
Okay.
So which prevented my husband to come in with me because the results didn't come back in time. So fast forward to delivery. So I was in labor for a while. So when I walked into the hospital, I wasn't contracting. I was contracting maybe 2 hours later. So everything seemed really fast. I did 2 stress tests. The first one told me obviously I wasn't going to give birth that day. But then what made it funny was, like, after they told me that, I had a patient liaison who translated for me and advocated on my behalf because I don't speak Italian. I started contracting, and then, like, for some reason, Italian women, they hold their babies in for 40 plus weeks. So they're 41, 42. And I'm over here 37 going, just punched over against the wall. And my liaison was like, are you okay, hon? I'm like, it's okay. I got this. And then it's getting all the room kind of anxious. Like, is she going to give birth right here? But I'm like, I'm good. So she's like, okay, I'm just going to get a nurse because you're doing this a little too often. They're like, your stress test didn't show that you're contracting. We'll just continue to book you into maternity. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And then I'm still having contractions. They're like, skip maternity ward. We're sending you straight to labor and delivery. And I'm over here just like, I knowing, like, if I labor standing up or squatting, it's going to be easier and I won't feel as much pain.
Right.
So they did my second stress test. I was sitting down. Allie girl doesn't wake up until the afternoon. It was still in the morning. And they're like, she's sleeping. You need to lay down. And I'm like, But they got me to lay down. My contractions shot up. And then, so I went from being dilated from 1 to 2 centimeters to 5 centimeters in a span of 2 hours. When I was 5 centimeters, they sent me to the delivery room. They checked me again. They're like, oh, you're still 5 centimeters. And at that point, I verified with the liaison and I asked, can my husband come in with me? You know, once, because at that time, they said around 7 to 8, your husband's allowed to finish the rest of your delivering or laboring and then be there for the delivering, and then 1 or 2 hours of on-skin contact with the baby. But since my COVID results didn't come back in time.
Right. You couldn't do any of that.
They told me, no, he couldn't come back with me. So I lost all pain control, and all of a sudden I started feeling the contractions. And I'm like, okay, if I can't calm myself down within the next 2, maybe if I do the epidural, maybe it'll slow things down. But it didn't, because once they took that needle out, I was completely dilated. They were like, hun, you're done. And that was the span of them checking my cervix. I was 5 centimeters still. 15 minutes later, I was at 10. So I was like, I lost all my like calmness at that point. I wanted to hyperventilate, but my midwife is like, okay, take a deep breath, trying to calm myself down. But he didn't give me time. He was like, now push. You're going to be a mom. I'm like, what?
And what was that moment like when you first saw her, Natalie?
It's very unreal because like I did it by myself. There was no one there consoling me. Like I knew like, you know, I was strong enough to do it. And like, this was my reward. Like have a little tiny human to call mine.
When you look at yourself and now look in the mirror, or even at this moment holding her, I mean, look at what you can do on your own. Look what you did on your own. I'm proud of you. I'm impressed. I mean, come on. You went in there, as you said, and the situation just kept ticking up. But for Allie girl there and for yourself, you kept your cool. You kept it together. That is commended. I mean, Lauren, that's a big part of what we're talking about here. These moms to be and the moms right now, you're going to face things you'd never imagine. You're going to face things that on paper you'd say, wait a minute, I can't do that. I can't go in that labor room alone and you will come out the victor, the strong woman that is inside of you. I mean, that's a big part of it, right, Lauren?
And this is the birth into motherhood. You know, it's the babies are born, but the mother is born, and we are warriors. And Natalie, my birth experience was really similar. I went into labor at 37 weeks. by the time my husband got back upstairs from emptying out the car, I didn't think he was going to get back in time, even though he was only gone 15 minutes. I was already 9 centimeters dilated, and it was go time. You know, and so it's fierce. And I think what you express throughout your entire journey, the quality of attention that you gave yourself in your experience, that is embodied mindfulness. And what it shows us is that when we're right here in the moment that we're in, we can really do anything. And I think very important what you're expressing on this back end is the power of gratitude. That yes, things can be challenging and hard and painful, or stressful and anxiety inducing, and a different kind of labor than we expected, a different kind of delivery in a foreign country with a language being spoken that we don't speak directly, miscommunication. And look at what you did. You came through on the other side, and the power of gratitude to be able to look back and have this deep sense of gratefulness for this little being, and for all of the moms who are pregnant or recently gave birth on the call. These little beings are coming to the planet at this time for a reason. And I think we have to trust them as little warriors of light, that they are coming here for a reason at this moment in time, that as chaotic as it seems, you know, they're making this choice to come onto the planet and to bring forward, I think for us as mothers, the highest version of ourselves. They're going to ask us to step up to the plate and to be the best version of ourselves that we can possibly be.
Absolutely. And by the way, I want to remind our audience watching, before we wrap up, Lauren is going to guide us through a short meditation, just a little something that we can all take with us after we're done with the conversation. Elizabeth in Germany, are you there? Gonna get Elizabeth on the line. Hi, Elizabeth.
Yeah,
how
hi.
are you?
I'm doing really good. Yeah, my son's upstairs right now with his dad, so I kind of have like a couple minutes to myself, which is nice.
How old is your son?
He just turned 15 weeks, so just a little over 3 months right now.
And how would you describe those 15 weeks?
So different than what you expect. You know, I feel like all of us have expectations of what it's like to enter motherhood and what type of moms we're going to be. And when you actually have that tiny person, it's so different. You know, I'm very much the natural type hippie. I want my baby to lead, you know, the schedule and everything. So I feel like that's definitely been making it easier, because I'm not trying to stick to, he has to be in bed by 8 o'clock, you know, because that's what other moms are able to do. I just do it what's best for him. And I'm really grateful that I have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, that is, you know, listen, everyone has their parent journey. As I said, my son is now 1. Because I had to go out on tour, not the same kind of tour that we speak of in the military, but I was promoting a new talk show. So before I had a C-section, and before I was technically cleared, my doctor cleared me a bit early, and I hit the road promoting this show. And my son was here with my husband, and my mother, thank goodness, was able to help me out. But a more regimented schedule worked out for us. Now he's 1. And it is his schedule, and I am on his time. But it's a fluid journey. First of all, what time is it in Germany right now?
It is currently at like 9:45 or so.
Okay,
Does he need
that's
me?
not bad. That's not bad. I'm like,
That's
need to. I can't count, and I didn't want to start. There we go.
There's we go.
Person of the
Hi,
moment.
baby.
Oh my gosh. Did you decide to breastfeed or not? I mean, what is your?
I'm so sorry.
Why are you sorry? This is a mom. Listen, you can't. At first, and no one else say they're sorry. Not on the Q&A, not popping up live. Don't email me, text message. I will delete you. We are not sorry for a damn thing on this call right now. Now, Elizabeth, no more sorry. Tell me, are you breastfeeding? How are you? It looks like it from the location. Yes. Okay. How is that going for you? Because again, I thought, I was like, okay, I'm going to breastfeed if I can. I can't, whatever, it's fine. And then I became a mom and I started to try to breastfeed, and it did not work out for me. And all of a sudden, this thing that I said I didn't care about, I'm reading books, I'm eating the cookies that's supposed to help you lactate. I felt like a failure. And I swear to you, going into this, I'm like, listen, I am a miracle that I am pregnant at 500 years old. So I'm not going to be measuring myself by breastfeeding. And then what you tell yourself about yourself at night, I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't feed my baby. What does that mean? Was I meant to have this child? All of these things. So how is that going for you again, emotionally breastfeeding? And then just having someone, I underestimated, it felt like someone was tethered to me. I love this little guy. I love my Moses. But real talk, I was like, you're latching on constantly.
So yeah, that is definitely the thing. I absolutely love breastfeeding, but in all honesty, those first 6 weeks are very, very challenging. I didn't have any issues with how much I was producing, as long as I drank enough water. If I did not drink enough water, and still to this day, if I don't, that is an issue. So definitely making sure you're staying hydrated, drinking tons of water, no matter how much it makes you pee. Just, stay hydrated. But once I got through those first 6 weeks, it was amazing, because the type of bond you get to build with your baby, although you're totally right, they latch a lot. And I did a bunch of reading online, am I not producing enough? Because that's the first thing my mind went to was, am I actually, not doing something right? Does he need supplement? But then I read that actually babies latch not just to feed, but it's also just to feel safe, because you are their safe space. And that's when I noticed, okay, I should stop feeling like I want some more time to myself, and notice that this is a really, really special time that only we as mothers get to experience for such a short period of our lives and their lives. So instead of feeling like it's, inconveniencing me because I want to clean the kitchen and I want to clean the floors, instead of feeling that way, just notice there's always going to be housework. There's always going to be more to clean, no matter how much we do it, no matter how many hours we put in every day, there's always going to be more to clean. And we only get to spend this much time and experience this type of connection and this bonding for such a short period.
And it goes fast, Elizabeth. You know that already at 15 weeks. The other moms on this who have older children. Dr. Morrison, I love that now. Dr. Morrison, people told me, I remember the first day I left the hospital, there was a doctor who said, just enjoy him. Don't obsess over things. I had a C-section. I'm in the hospital Googling C-section cream. I was like, wait a minute, because I didn't expect the scar to be so big. And now I look at the scar and I'm fine. I don't even notice it. But I notice how many days, if I look, I don't believe in regret. I say that. I've regretted some dates I've had, but I don't regret much else. But I look back at it, whether it's the physical change of my body, whether it was worrying about how much milk my son received, those things are so small in the total journey that we've started here. And our bodies will change, Dr. Morrison, right? And it's going to react in ways that we never expected.
Oh, absolutely. And I think as long as you don't, like you said, you just don't stress over that and you just kind of deal with it. Remember, your body took 10 months to get to where it is, to grow life. Like I always remind my patients, you're growing life inside of you. Like, guess what? It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be the best thing that you've probably ever done. And just remember that these kids will grow up and they'll grow up quickly. And once you have the baby, everybody stresses about breastfeeding. Yes, I think breastfeeding is amazing, but there are some women that can't. And I say, you know what your baby needs? To eat. However that happens. There are generations of people that were born and raised on formula. And if that's all you have to offer your baby cares about love, attention, and food. That's it. And that's all that they're going to remember.
Yeah. And that is so key. I mean, like I said, I could go on, and the moms here, we could tell you 1,000 stories, but when you're in this moment, and this brings me to the meditation with Lauren, it is about just keeping yourself centered, because ultimately in your relationship with your spouse, I mean, my husband, he kept running around. I was like, listen, I'm about to just, we're signed here for the divorce papers. There were times that, you know, I'd look at him and I loved him, and the other times I was like, if you leave one more Amazon box with diapers, it's over, dude. You're gonna go through these. But I'm gonna tell this before and I'll get emotional, I don't wanna cry. I remember having issues and Moses kept spitting up, and I found myself in the parking lot of a Target crying my eyes out, feeling so less than, feeling like such a failure, and I'm just bawling my eyes out. I went into the Target. I'm surprised I wasn't arrested, because they probably like, what is wrong with this lady? But that was my lowest point of this 1-year journey so far, because I had just ripped myself up. No one else did. I did. And we can't do that. And you can't do that to yourselves, whether you are currently pregnant or you are now fresh home trying to unpack all of these things, like Natalie, like Jessica, Elizabeth. All of us have a million stories to share. But I hope that the thing we share most is joy and comfort and knowing that you're not alone. And Lauren, a big part of this is how to bring yourself down when you've worked your anxiety up, when the doctor's appointment is coming and you've got rules to follow, and they're telling you that this is how we used to do it, but to Dr. Morrison's point, this is how we do it now. How does meditation help us? And guide us through a quick session here.
Sure. I think I just want to say one thing. Elizabeth, you spoke to this so beautifully, and this is the power of mindfulness. It's the power of meditation. Life is only happening right here in this moment that we're in. It's not happening in the future. It's not happening in the past. Your life and your baby are happening right here, right now. And this is where our babies need us to be. They need us to be in this moment with them. And one of the most powerful things about meditation practice is that there is clinical research that now shows that pregnant women and mothers who meditate have babies who are better able to self-regulate, which is an incredible gift to give to our children. You know, our children are emotionally attuning to us. So the more that we can be equanimous, and what equanimity really means is being okay with not being okay, being okay with the moment that we're in, whatever is here. And the more that we practice in that way, the greater gift we're giving to our children of that embodied steadiness and that embodied sense of presence. So let's go ahead and do a short practice. I know we're coming here toward the end. So wherever you are in the world, however you're joining us today, just find a comfortable seat. You can be casual about it. You don't have to put your body into a formal position. If you're holding your baby, hold that baby close, hold them towards your heart, towards your chest. And if you can, go ahead and close your eyes. And if for any reason it doesn't feel right for you to close your eyes, or you're not in a situation where you can, just see if you can either gaze towards your baby or drop your eyes down and out a couple of feet, and just invite some stillness into the eyes and into the body if you're not rocking a baby. And from this place, put your attention into the parts of your body that are touching something solid. We call this resourcing. So you might feel your feet on the floor, or your bottom, your sitting bones connected to your chair. And just from those places of contact, starting to draw into yourself a feeling of being grounded and a feeling of being steady right here, right now, in this moment that you're in. And as you feel into your body, start to notice your breath. You don't need to change anything about your breath. Your body knows how to be breathed. But if it feels appropriate and right, you might take just a couple fuller, deeper breaths to have that visceral sensation of your breath in your body. And that your breath is always there supporting you, one of your greatest teachers and resources that exists right underneath your nose. And begin to bring your attention to your heart. If you wanted to, you could even put a hand over your heart, or if you're holding your baby, you might hold them close to your heart. And as you bring your attention to your heart, ask yourself the question, what is the deepest intention of my heart for myself and for my baby? What is the deepest intention in my heart for myself and for my baby? Maybe you hear something like, may we both know love. May we both trust this process of infancy or birth. And repeat whatever that intention is to yourself internally and silently a couple of times, knowing that there is no such thing as a wrong intention. Doesn't need to be perfect, just something that you're feeling right now that you'd like to remind yourself and your baby of. And after you've repeated that a couple of times, letting it go, and to feel inside of yourself that deep sense of trust. You know how to do this. You're enough. You have wisdom and courage. You have strength and steadiness. And underneath it all, you have awareness and breath that are always leading and guiding you moment to moment. And so just from that place, take another fuller, deeper breath in. And open the mouth, exhale, let the breath go as you feel the body soften. And in your own time and only as you're ready, slowly reopening the eyes if they happen to be closed. And joining together again in this global community as a reminder that we are all in this journey together.
That was beautiful, Lauren. Thank you so much. Wendy, before we wrap up, is Wendy on the line here? Can I see you? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Tell me your situation.
Okay. Well, my son is going to be 10 months old next week. And like you, I became a mother in my 40s. And my son was born also last year, right after I turned 40. And, you know, we started out this year and everything, just kind of getting back to my life before he was here and kind of integrating him in. I love to volunteer in my community, so we were going to some volunteer events, getting him a little socialized and everything. And then when COVID happened, you know, we have been in our house and we have been just away from everyone. So I'm so worried about his socialization.
Wow.
Because before, you know, I was even leading a workout group with moms here at Fort Bragg and things like that. And now it's just us every day. And then my husband when he comes home from work. So I worry about the socialization of my son. And I also worry, you know, it's been very isolating for myself too, as a new mother, even an older mother, you know, just waiting for my husband to come home every day so I have some adult interaction and things like that is really tough.
I understand. But, I want to get Dr. Morrison on this before we wrap up, because I have felt that same way, Wendy. I'm going to tell you, I just had a conversation with my mother, Dr. Morrison. I was like, you know, my son is a year old. He hasn't been to a park. He's been inside here in our home with me and my husband. And it's tough because you worry, are they delayed? And then you start to worry about yourself, because that social interaction, there's a reason we're on this call today with each other, because we thrive when we interact. And so it's natural to think that about our children. What's your advice?
I think the best thing to do is find like other small groups, I think, that are very similar to you and your method of quote unquote quarantining or hand hygiene, and maybe create small groups of families or people that you can still interact with. Because right now we don't, you know, isolating the children is definitely not the answer, you know, and just throwing them out there, caution to the wind, I don't think is the answer either. And I think, you know, sometimes family members are good options, or close neighbors that you can truly trust are, you know, with like the same level of cleanliness that you do. but definitely create your own little pod of people. And then as things get better, you can start to slowly branch out.
Okay.
Yeah. And there are, you know what, I've looked online too, Wendy, there are some virtual kids classes. And I just kind of how we're doing this Zoom thing, there are virtual classes, maybe even if you have friends and family that are away, get a link to a video conference and conduct your own class. I just get the little happy dance out and we start dancing, and my son now sees his little friends on there as well. And it's just something, because obviously we know we're going to get to the other side of this. This will not last forever. And there will be an opportunity where you will say, why do you have to go over to your friends? Why can't you stay with mom? So those days will come where he'll be able to bolt out of the house and say, no, mom, I'm going over to John's house. I'll see you later. And you'll say, no, I remember when it was just the two of us on quarantine. So believe it or not, you're going to look back at this. So just know that so much is beyond our control. But what we can control is our ability to reach out to others. And you have a support system here with the USO. I want to let everyone know that this is not a one-off. We want to continue this conversation. We have 3 more worldwide Zooms for military moms, July, August, September, covering everything. I've got the list here. Creating your birth plan, the actual birth, feeding your baby, and the 4th trimester, as well as postpartum and baby care, which was what we were talking about with Wendy's child. So I just want you to know, again, I cannot say it enough. We are not alone on this journey. You are not alone on this journey. The days may seem long and they may seem so difficult to get through. I told a friend the other day, I feel like it's one long day with some naps in the middle, but we are going to we're going to get it together. And communicate with your spouses. Even, you know, when you feel like they don't understand, you might be surprised. You know, write yourself little notes about how you feel right now. I've taken a video of Moses and I said to Moses, here we are, this is the 44th day of quarantine, and I'm going to try to put that in storage so he can see, you know, what it looked like. So keep a picture log, just little things to make you feel like it's not consuming you. And I'm just proud of all of you. As I said, we may never meet, but know we're in this together. We are sisters on this journey, and it's a journey we're going to win. We'll see you back here, hopefully July, August, September. Dr. Morrison, thank you so much for your time. Lauren, thank you for the meditation and the reset. I do have one. I feel like I'm the lady at the church where you have to go through the minutes. I've got one more thing on our minutes to tell you. The conversation continues. USO Spouse Military Facebook group. That is another source of information, ideas, and exchanges of people that are going through something similar. So don't forget to do that. Make sure you go there. On behalf of USO and Motherhood Maternity, thank you for the opportunity. I will see you very soon on our next Zoom conversation. Put it on your calendar when they announce the date. It's going to be popping up on that Facebook page. Share it with your friends, and we will be back together before you know it. Take care, everyone.